Okay, so back to our code. So we did some, stuff with ellipses. I want to comment out that stuff right now. And now we're just going to do some work in the console area. So earlier in the course, we talked about adding up integers. So we're going to use a while loop to add up the integers from 0 to 5. Okay, so we're just going to say int num equals 0. And when we're done, we're going to print the sum. Int sum equals 0. Make sure you have a semicolon at the end of the line. So we're going to be able to use num kind of as our counter as well. So we're going to say while num is less than 5, we're going to have a set of curly brackets. And we're going to say sum equals sum plus num. So the first time through, we're adding 0 plus 0. Now we need to increment to 1. So to do that, we're going to say num plus plus. So the second time through, 1 is less than 5. We'll be adding 0 plus 1, and the sum will be 1. Then we increment to 2 is 2 less than 5, and so on. So 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Let's just add up through 4. 0, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is going to be equal to 10. So we got to check that our answer works. So let's put a print statement in the console area and say sum equals concatenated with sum. So when we run this, we should see 10 in the console area. And we're going to need to move this out of the way. And we see that right there. Okay, I didn't really like how that was printing down here because it was updating every tenth of a second. So I didn't like that. So I'm going to show you how to do something else. So I'm going to show you how to print to the output screen. So first I'm going to have a fill command, which changes the color of the text to black. That's what 000 does. And then now this command, what this command does is it sends the text to output screen. So first we have to put in what we want it to print. You can either print, whatever you assign to a variable, or you can concatenate together or merge together a string and then the value of a variable, which in our case is 10. Sum equals 10. And then this is where you put it. This is the x value and the y value. So now remember, I had the ellipses all commented out. So all you're going to see when you run this is a message printed to the screen. And we'll talk more about those kind of things later when we have more time to talk about font. Now, so let's take a look at a couple other while loops. Like let's create a variable c, and let's create a value score equal to 5, and let's write another while loop while c is less than 5. Nothing special about 5. And now to score, I'm going to say plus equals 2. So this is going to add 2 to score every time through the loop. And every time through the loop, we're going to increment c by 1. So it's going to be essentially something like 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And so let's do the same thing we did last time. Let's use this text command to print to the output screen, but it's not going to be sum, it's going to be score. So we should see the score equal to, I think 11, right? 5. But this time let's send it to 300, so below the other one. And, oh, I think I made a mistake. Let's go back. Oh, score equals. We need to put score here. It's my mistake. But it's nice is that you can kind of merge together a score. So if I take 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, oh yeah, it's definitely 15. So that's right. I don't like how far down that went, so maybe we say 250. So set that up for next time. Okay, very good. So you've got a little bit of an idea of how to do a while loop, how to text output to the screen, and so on. So I'm going to keep rolling along here because now I want to show you how to make a list. So in processing, lists are called arrays. And this is very true in most programming languages. We like to call lists arrays. So arrays and lists is you have to tell processing what you are going to store in the list slash array. So I'll use those words interchangeably. So I'm going to just start with an integer array, creating an integer array or list. And so it looks a little bit different than what you're used to. For sure. It looks a little bit different. And I'm just going to keep an eye on my messages because I'm sure I'm going to run out of time here. Okay, so you have to say int and then the square brackets. That tells processing you're making an array of integers. So I'm going to give it a name, test equals, and then we have to use the word new. This tells processing I'm making a new integer array. And then again, I say int, the brackets, but this time I have to tell it how many things I'm going to put in the integer array. So I'm going to put a number like 8. So now I have a list where we can put 8 slots in. Now, there's a lot of different ways we can put items into this integer array. The way that I made this, if I wanted to put the scores 100, 95, 90, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65, 60 into the array, since I made the array this way, the only way to do it would be to say tests and then a set of brackets. Now, in processing, one big difference from Scratch, the first position is 0 instead of 1. But on the AP exam, you know it'll be 1. But in processing, it's 0. So I'm going to put 100. So that's the format that we use. We tell it what position and we set equal to a value. So as long as I enter in the kind of data it's expecting, we should be good to go. So in position 1, you notice I use the copy and paste a lot. Position 1, I'm going to put 95. Position 2, I'm going to put 90. Position 3, I'm going to put 85. Position 4, I'm going to put 80, and so on. Position 5, I'm going to put 75. Position 6, 70. And position 7, I'm going to put 65. Now remember, when I have 8 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I end at 7 because I started at 0. Okay?